Once you have cleaned your data and done some exploratory analysis within CSPro, it's time to start thinking about moving your data into a statistics package for further analysis. In this session, we'll look at the Export Data tool within CSPro. As with the other tools we've looked at, compare data and tabulate frequencies, the Export Data tool is available from both the Tools menu within CSPro and directly from the Start menu in Windows. As with the other tools, you'll need to give the name of the dictionary file. CSPro will then show the dialog box shown here. The dictionary structure in the left-hand panel should be very familiar to you by this stage. In the right-hand panel are the various export options, and we'll consider each of these in turn. First of all, there is the universe. This is where you can select a subset of the cases to export. You might, for example, just want to export data from female-headed households. We came across this method of selecting subsets in the previous session when we looked at frequency tables, and the universe here works in exactly the same way. The number of files created determines whether the system will produce just one output data file or one for each record type. Our recommendation here would be to have separate data files for each level of the data. For instance, in the example we've been using throughout the course, we would export the fertilizer data to a separate file. Each household can have one or more related cases in the fertilizer data, so these are at different levels. The output of multiple record occurrences can now be as a single record or multiple records in the resulting file. This will depend on the circumstances. For example, in our questionnaire we used multiple occurrences for the crop question. We allowed respondents to name up to 3 crops that they grow. We wouldn't want each crop to produce a separate record in the resulting file, but would instead want 3 separate fields in the same record, with the fields labelled as crop 1, crop 2 and crop 3. So for this we would choose the one record option. However, with the fertilizer data, we want to produce separate records in the data file for each fertilizer. So when exporting the fertilizer data, we would choose the separate records option. You'll see how this works when you work through the practical. When it comes to exporting items or sub-items, you can choose one or both. Remember, you cannot display the main item and the sub-items on a form together, but you can export both the main and sub-items. Generally, we would recommend exporting sub-items and using commands within your statistics package to put these together into a properly formatted date field. Finally, we have the export format. Here you need to think about what package you are going to use next. You might want to take your data into Excel, or you might be planning on using a statistics package such as SPSS or Stata. The following formats exist for exporting. The first 3 are all text files but with different separators or delimiters, tab, comma or semicolon. Then we have the statistics packages for each of SPSS, SAS, Stata and more recently R. CSPro would produce a text data file or files with the extension .dat, together with a syntax file with the appropriate commands to read the data and name and label the variables. Thus with SPSS, for instance, you would have a file with the .sps extension containing SPSS syntax. The option to export to R was introduced in version 5 of CSPro. Other options that were introduced in more recent versions of CSPro include the ability to output in UTF-8, preserving non-Latin characters in labels and text fields. There is also an option to output commas to separate decimals, as is common in many countries. Finally, there is an option to export metadata and the data description to XML format. So it's your turn again. Using the example dataset we provided, try exporting in different formats and using different options. Export a comma-separated file and see how that looks in Excel. Export to SPSS or the stats package of your choice and view the resulting syntax file. If you have the particular software package on your PC, then try running the code. When exporting the fertilizer data, try exporting as one record, then as multiple records, so you understand the differences. As usual, there is a practical handout for you to follow, followed by a short quiz.